So how did Chelsea completely demolish Barcelona? That is going to be the focus of today's show. It was a complete dismantling of Hansi Flick's side at Stamford Bridge in the Champions League, and there were several ways that Chelsea did it so successfully, and we're going to focus in on that today in terms of the way Maresca set up Chelsea, how they exploited Barcelona's high line, their work on and off the ball, and also the essential, incredible individual display of one Marc Cucurella, completely shutting down Lamine Yamal. Please like, subscribe, get involved down in the comments below on your thoughts surrounding this huge win and amazing performance by Chelsea in the Champions League. The best place to start regards the starting lineup, and the lineup that Maresca went for in bulk wasn't too shocking. There was only really one area that was of some confusion when the lineups were released, but even then, although there was some concern about it, I think based on the tactical side and the weaknesses of Barcelona, it was understandable why Maresca made the choice he did. In terms of the lineup, Rob Sanchez, then you had a back four, Malo Gusto, Wesley Fofana, Trevor Chalobah, Marc Cucurella. In midfield, Moises Caicedo and Reece James. Enzo Fernandez as the most advanced midfielder. Then as your front three, Alejandro Garnacho from the left, Esteban Willian from the right, and Pedro Neto up top. Now, of course, there are things within this lineup that Maresca has done pretty consistently if you track it back to the PSG game. Malo Gusto as a right back / right wing back that has worked so successfully. Reece James tucking into central midfield, sometimes taking out an attacker. So you move Enzo Fernandez further up the pitch rather than being in a pivot alongside Caicedo, which is more kind of a regular occurrence for Chelsea with Enzo Maresca, and especially across recent years since both of those players signed for the club as kind of a midfield partnership. These are all things we have consistently seen. I think the big decision and call for Maresca was not going with a recognised centre forward when you've got Liam Delap, you've got Marc Guiu, you've also got João Pedro, who did play there against Liverpool, against Spurs and against PSG. So when he goes for this, sometimes he will still go with a kind of a traditional or at least close to a centre forward. Pedro Neto played that role more so with kind of desperation because of the injury crisis last year when I think both Jackson and Guiu was out. But it absolutely made sense when you factor in Barcelona's weaknesses and how Chelsea were going to look to exploit them. And when you come into these big games, and I think it's one of the things that Maresca has done so emphatically well, is identifying the weaknesses within the opposition. Because although they provide in these big games massive strengths, it's trying to identify those. I think it's one of the things that Mourinho did so wonderfully well at Chelsea, was how ruthless he was when Chelsea would come up against big opposition, big rivals in big occasions, and how relentlessly they would pursue and look to exploit their big weakness. That you think about the PSG game, it was clear it was Nuno Mendes. It was playing high passes over the top of the left of PSG's defence, and all of the joy that Chelsea got specifically in the first half. I think against Liverpool, it was overloading Arne Slot's midfield, Malo Gusto moving into a central area in that game. Also the lopsided nature of Liverpool's team this year and the space and gap between midfield and defence, and specifically in that first half and throughout the entirety of the game really, trying to target the right side of Liverpool's defence with Conor Bradley really struggling when Chelsea would overlap with Cucurella there as well. And then against Barcelona, there were several ways Chelsea did it, but I think the most obvious was Barcelona's high line, the comical high line. You only had to watch one game, and it was their last Champions League game against Club Brugge, where all three of the goals they conceded were almost identical in the nature of them, and it was Club Brugge basically hitting Barcelona in transition, running into acres of space, using their speed and attack to exploit their high line. So it was undeniable this was something Chelsea were going to try to exploit. Now, it's not as simple as just punting the ball forward. Barcelona obviously have some extraordinary players, and they're also very good off the ball at pressing, which then if they can win the ball back, the talent they have in attack, especially with Ferran Torres, Robert Lewandowski, Lamine Yamal. Even this season, Marcus Rashford has proven an alright player for them. They have the talent, Rafinha, that can absolutely bail their defence out. I don't think this Barcelona defence is really up to much. I think, as we saw against Chelsea, when they were exploited, when they were nullified, they were exposed very quickly, leading to some stupid decisions with Herrera going off for a second yellow before the halftime interval. I don't think that was an anomaly and kind of a sign in the game of Chelsea suddenly gaining lots of control. I think it was a sign of Chelsea's dominance that Barca defenders with Jules Koundé putting the ball in the back of his own net, how rushed, how panicked they look consistently with Chelsea pressing them. So on the ball, Chelsea had to get round Barcelona's press to try and go direct and trying to find the space beyond Barcelona's defence. And there's some good examples early on. I think here's a really good example of kind of the different passing avenues and the fluidity of Chelsea's system at times that has seen players pop up in several areas. So Trevor Chalobah is kind of forced back to Robert Sanchez here. Now, usually Rob Sanchez is looking for diagonals out wide rather than straight down the centre of the pitch. Obvious reasons, it's more crowded there, and if you give the ball away there, there's a higher chance of it coming straight back towards you. And looking for Marc Cucurella instead, Barca's press is more focused as a pressing trigger on Cucurella, when instead there's an open man, and that open man is Moises Caicedo. And, just looking through these series of screenshots, if you're listening on the podcast, but I definitely suggest go over to YouTube and watch the show as well, is how then easy Chelsea find it to bypass and to turn very quickly the pressing of Barcelona in their own half back to a goalkeeper, straight through to Moises Caicedo, who then ventures forward, finds not a lot of resistance, and is able to play the ball into Esteban, who picks up, as we see, a right wing role at times where he's very much hugging the touchline, but he likes to move into these kind of attacking mid roles as kind of a number 8 alongside Enzo Fernandez, where he's able to turn. And then suddenly, with the last screenshot here, you can see Chelsea have completely turned the move around, and now they're going at Barcelona's defence, who are sitting in this high 4, basically, trying to catch Chelsea offside, which they did a number of times, but it just shows you how quickly Chelsea were able to turn defence into attack, and off the ball too, how much work and how energetic and intense Chelsea were, hounding Barcelona into mistakes and forcing them down into positions and areas of the pitch they didn't want to go to. In terms of the high line, Chelsea exploited it a number of times. The third goal is kind of the most obvious option. It very much resembles some of Chelsea's goals under Maresca quite recently, kind of the cut back to a man inside the 6-yard box, kind of an open goal for Liam Delap this time. But it also did resemble the first Club Brugge goal. So it was clear that Maresca, with Pedro Neto, with the speed of him, the speed of Garnacho, the speed of Esteban, and then you had, of course, Enzo Fernandez, who was just brilliant at finding passes beyond defences like that. It was a match made in heaven, and Chelsea absolutely exploited it on a number of occasions. I think we have to look at Marc Cucurella. Cucurella was sensational. I don't think it's hyperbole to say that Marc Cucurella is the best left-back currently in the world. And that's not just me saying that because he's a Chelsea fan. I think if you look and match his performance level up with other players in that position, when you factor in Cucurella for club and country, in big high-level games against some incredible talent, and how consistently he's been able to nullify those talents over the past year, way over that now in terms of his transformation as a player, that's undeniable. Expected Chelsea, and this really is kind of the highest level praise you could give to Cucurella in terms of this level of performance, was he called it kind of the best ever game for Chelsea, even better than PSG, a Kante-esque shift from left back, and it really was. Of course, Cucurella was involved in the build up to the first goal. If you watch Marc Cucurella at set pieces, he has a consistent hand in being a real nuisance for the opposition. He's either standing at kind of the near post for a little bit of a flick on if Chelsea are going near post for their corner kicks, which I think have proved a little bit impactful this year, or he's looking for that short corner, as he was in this case for the opening goal. Times his run to perfection, gets the ball in. Of course, it's a bit of a mess that it ends up in an own goal, but it shows you the instrumental nature of Cucurella, who always seems to be involved in some of the big moments for Chelsea, and of course was involved in the second yellow for Arejo. And just really nice combinations down the left of moving from a left centre-back into a left-back, even into a left wing role within one move, and has that freedom to move into those kind of overlapping positions when he needs to as well. But undeniably, I think the big thing will be how he shut down Lamine Yamal. And to be honest, to say this was anything different to what I've seen from Cucurella at his best would probably be lying. I think it very much is just a continuation of what Cucurella does against this type of opponent, where he's just a complete nuisance. He is he's scrappy. He is unrelenting, unfazed. He has a nice balance of aggression and control, and also an understanding of the dark arts of the game that you do need at the top level to keep him on the right side, where he isn't easily getting a yellow card, which he was earlier in his Chelsea career, which then means he's able to put in a few more fouls and not risk going off, which of course we saw from Barcelona last night. And just the nature of just shutting down Lamine Yamal a number of times for different reasons. Cutting out here a 1-2 at the edge of the box with Firmino Lopez, Lamine Yamal then trying to get the pass back and get a shot on goal, but Cucurella absolutely times and tracks the run to perfection. Then just absolutely following him and being touch tight. This is something that Cucurella has kind of mastered. His timing on this and his ability to just aggressively pursue a player around the pitch. And when he's doing that, obviously there is a risk because you're maybe leaving a gap, but he always makes sure, especially when going for the ball, he's stopping the player, he's preventing them from getting out of the area. He's completely ruthless in these situations. And just a number of times where Lamine Yamal, an incredible talent by the way, is trying to wriggle free, trick his way out of the situation, try and create space, try and create a passing option. Cucurella just did not allow it over and over and over again. Anytime Barcelona trying to build up, he's there like a rash, marking the Yamal out of the game, trying to win the ball back. It has, different purposes for Chelsea. It's not just marking arguably Barcelona's most threatening player out of the game. It's winning Chelsea the ball back, which then helps the rest of Chelsea's game in terms of winning the ball back, turning high turnovers, and then trying to attack on Barcelona, which we did consistently at a high rate. Probably the best one is you've got Lamine Yamal here at the edge of Chelsea's box in the first half. Is he going to go in or out? Which Lamine Yamal has the ability to do both. And blocking off the angles, eventually winning a goal kick. And this happened time and time again to a point where Yamal was clearly getting frustrated and eventually was subbed off by Hansi Flick. And in terms of that as an individual talent, that is something that's remarkable, how a complete non-factor Lamine Yamal was in this game, and how incredible a level Cucurella is playing at the moment. The numbers in terms of 97 touches, 55 of 63 passes completed, 8 duels won, 4 tackles won, which was the most on the evening, 2 fouls won and 1 chance created. Truly sensational, and it is one of the biggest transformations we have ever seen of a player at Chelsea, and it's a wonderful success story. And I think it's a sign of, I think I've made this point a number of times with Cucurella, that sometimes we make snap judgments on players, especially when they have difficult starts to life at a club. Now, I think the nature of the turnaround for Cucurella is so vast that to think it's going to be repeated, I think it's going to be quite difficult, but it's a testament to him as a character, him as a talent, and for what he's become at Chelsea, where he is the best left back, I think, in the world. And I think, that new contract can't come soon enough in terms of nailing him down to a position where hopefully he will be there for many more years to come, because he's also kind of blossomed into this great player later in his career too. I think that is something as well. So really, really huge performance. And I think whenever Cucurella is performing to this level, there's a good chance Chelsea are going to be succeeding, because he has such a big hand in kind of everything Chelsea do, really, even if it doesn't look obvious all the time. The only other thing I want to say is I think it was one of the criticisms of Maresca's football, and even this season, is how ponderous at times, especially last season during difficult periods, it looked, and how Chelsea could be accused of not playing the ball quickly forward when there was ample opportunity to do it. And the second goal was kind of the complete reverse of this. And the entirety of this game, the games we've seen against Liverpool, PSG, bigger games, Chelsea are not afraid now to switch things up. I think anyone saying that Maresca doesn't adapt, I just don't think is watching the games consistently enough. I think the criticisms you can have are in different game states where a team sits very deep against Chelsea, and maybe sometimes we're just a little bit too slow to either spot when space is open, to maybe take a few more risks. In this kind of game state, Chelsea are playing the ball quickly, and they're going for the throats of opposition, which is what, as fans, we love to see. The goal for Esteval, of course, not enough words to describe how sensational an individual moment of brilliance it was. There's nothing tactical to say about it, but it took 8 seconds from Chelsea winning the ball back, basically at the edge of Barcelona's half, going into their half, moving the ball from interception to Reece James to Esteval to putting the ball in the back of the net. 8 seconds. So Chelsea are a lot more rampant and a lot quicker in these kind of occasions than I think they were last year. I think that probably has come with confidence, rhythm, and also, of course, individual incredible talent like Esteval Willian. So maybe a sign of Chelsea's speed and intensity ramping up. We hopefully will see that on a more consistent basis. Are there any other things you want to point out in the comments below in terms of things I may have missed about this game? Please do let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this content and want to support it, want to see more of it, please like, subscribe, and it's free to do. Share the video and podcast around with friends. It would be greatly appreciated. You can check out my post-match piece for this game on my Substack. That will also be linked down in the description box below. Follow across the socials at SonOfChelsea. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you again very, very soon.